Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from A Man Talks FPL SC. In today's video, we're going through the Game Week 14 Team Selection. This video will go through how I went in Game Week 13 and what I'm looking to do with the team moving forward from Game Week 14. So if you enjoy the video, really appreciate a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing to the channel if you do enjoy the content. Well, let's get straight into it. So Game Week 13 was another good week for the team. It was another green arrow, albeit a small one, but we went from around 12.7k up to 9.1k. So we're now inside the top 10k, which is a great achievement to be. Only Game Week 13 as well, very early in the season. I was only at this point in time, I think last season around Game Week 20, so it's good to be kind of ahead of where we were from last season. But obviously, as I say with every video, it's nice to be in such a high ranking, but there's still so much of the season to go. I guess one benefit is that the team is very template. It's got an 88% template rating on live FPL, a lot of common highly owned players, but I think the benefit is that now that we have got a team that's very template and that a lot of players are trying to get to, the fact that I'm highly ranked hopefully just means I don't have to be taking too many unnecessary risks. So hopefully other managers are trying to get the team that I've kind of already got in place. So I guess that's one benefit of being, this nicely ranked at this point in the season. But in terms of going through how the team went, again, Ramsdale in goal, getting the 7 points. He did almost get a bonus point and also get his 6th save. He potentially could have been on for 9 points, but that last cross that was saved was deemed a cross and not a save. So only the 7 points, but obviously I can't really complain too much of that. A clean sheet from Arsenal. They looked relatively comfortable in that game overall against Newcastle, and again, defensively looking pretty solid. So Ramsdale, good on the bonus, good save potential, so very happy to have him as the keeper. The back four, very common back four that you'll see. There's only the real one change, which was Ben Chilwell. We traded him out for Alonso, given the injury that Chilwell sustained. But overall, I'm pretty happy, obviously, with the back four. Disappointing, didn't really do as well, obviously, as what we saw from Game Week 13. James and Cancelo only scored the 1 point apiece. Obviously, City were very much in line for a clean sheet. Obviously, it just took a Lanzini wonder strike to wipe that clean sheet out. Cancelo did also get a yellow card, but he looked very attacking. He had a nice shot in the box as well. Chelsea only really conceded a goal from a Jorginho error. So I think there's still very good defenses to invest in. No need to panic. Obviously, not ideal that neither of them got the clean sheet, but they all have good attacking potential. Alonso pleasingly was on a lot of set pieces. He only played around 76 minutes, and I listened to the comments from Tuchel after the game, and he said a lot of it was due to kind of match fitness. He was saying that Alonso was looking a little bit tired, so he decided to sub him off on around the 75th minute. I took that as a positive. Obviously, he's still trying to get up to match fitness. He hasn't really played too many games recently, given that Chilwell has been playing the majority of Premier League games, but I think it's kind of good management from Tuchel. He's aware that Alonso is really his main left wing back, and so the fact that he took him off early to give him a bit of a breather hopefully is a good sign that he will play in the midweek fixture, because I think a lot of people and myself are potentially looking at some rotation in that midweek fixture. So hopefully the fact that Alonso came off in the 75th minute means he can play that midweek game. Reece James actually played on the left when Alonso got subbed off, and he looked pretty good himself. Just shows the versatility of the man. I think obviously this was his first 90-minute performance of the season where he didn't get an attacking return, which is a quite crazy statistic when you think about it like that. Still, 1 pointer would not discourage me at all about bringing him in. We've seen what he can do up until this point in the season. Trent probably showing he's still probably the king of defenders. Another 9 pointer here, another clean sheet, another assist. Just Trent doing what Trent normally does, and again, probably one of the most essential players. I guess no player is essential, but he's a very good player to have in your team, because he can very easily give you these close to double-digit hauls on a weekly basis, and potentially could even be a rival to Salah as a captain. Speaking of, we did captain Salah for his 6 points. He did get a single assist and the clean sheet point, which is a little bit surprising when you see a scoreline of 4-0 for Liverpool. Always looks very threatening though, so there's no real kind of regret going with Salah, and I think he's probably looking to have the armband next week against Everton as well. In the rest of the midfield, some disappointing performances from Rafinha and Mbeumo. I mean, Rafinha and Leeds in general just did not look very attacking. Brighton would definitely have the upper hand in this game, but a clean sheet point here, that is 0-0. I'll happily take the 3 points, and still has 2 good home games coming up. So I think Rafinha will stay in the team just for the next couple of weeks. Mbeumo, very frustrating as well. I think he had the 2 shots, 1 on target, and I think he missed one of them. And yeah, been very frustrating since we got him on the wild card. Hasn't got any points for us. I will speak about him a little bit later in terms of, he's probably one of the weaker links, I think, in the team. Diogo Jota, definitely not a weak link though, scored a brace for 14 points here, and it could have been more. Jota just doesn't quite able to convert all of his chances. He very easily could have scored a hat-trick. He's been a great buy for me the past 2 weeks, 8 points in 14. Very, very happy with him, and I think he would be a good long-term pick as well, because we still haven't got kind of updated guidance on Firmino's injury, but Jota, even when African Cup of Nations goes ahead, he should still be a good option in the Liverpool attack, so very happy to have him in the team. Tony up front, very pleasantly surprised to have a 9-pointer from him. He didn't have any shots in the game, but he had the 1 penalty and the maximum bonus. I'll happily take those kind of jammy points. That's the benefit of going with these penalty takers. We haven't seen that many penalties so far this season, but he just needs the 1 penalty and he can get you a return, even if he hasn't got any shots in the game, which obviously is a bit of a concerning thing, given that Everton have not been the best defence recently. But the fact that he's on penalties and he's nailed on for 90 minutes, I think he's probably going to be one of these players who I think will hang around in the team for a little bit longer. And Harry Kane, obviously the Spurs-Burnley game got postponed, which is a bit unfortunate. It was a good matchup on paper for Harry Kane. Obviously, he very easily could have just given me 2 points and blanked. He hasn't really shown too much so far this season, but you never know. He could have got you a goal or two. We just don't quite know. So obviously a little bit discouraging that your £12 million player wasn't able to score any points for you in a nice fixture against Burnley, but I did have Antonio come off the bench. So overall, very happy with the game week. 60 points plus the 2 auto sub points for Antonio, so 62 overall, up to 9.1k. So in the top 10k, very happy with that at that point in the season, as I've already mentioned. And just for reference, this is just to show my bench. Antonio was the only one who scored for me with 2 points. I had him as first sub. Livramento got 0, as Southampton did concede 4 goals, and Brownhill obviously also didn't feature in that game against Burnley. So overall, pretty happy with the squad. I've got 1 free transfer going into game week 14, 0.3 million in the bank, so not too much money to work with. So let's see what I'm looking to do with the team for game week 14. Just before I wanted to go onto my team, I again wanted to show my little bit of a fixture graphic just to show the congestion that's coming up in December, just to kind of also give you a brief reminder as well about the deadline. I think it's a UK Tuesday 6 p.m. deadline, so for my time zone here in Australia, I think it's like 5 a.m. On a Wednesday morning, so just bear that in mind when you're doing your transfers, that it's going to be a short turnaround. FPL is going to be back very, very soon in the next day or so very happy with that. I think it also just underlines the point that just kind of take a second thought when you're looking to bring in any players if they're kind of rotation prone, because we are going to see a lot of rotation moving forward. So I think that's something to keep in the back of your mind with your potential transfer targets if you've got enough squad depth to be able to cover that. But enough of that, let's see how I'm looking to go for game week 14. So for game week 14, we'll line up in a 4-3-3 formation, not looking to change anything in the defense. I'm just going to play all 4 of them and hope that they all play, but I am potentially expecting some rotation from maybe a Cancelo or a Reece James, because he's played quite a few games in the past few weeks. Alonso, as I mentioned, the fact that he did come off around the 75-minute mark gives me hope that he will play, because it is a great fixture away to Watford, similar for James as well. I think actually all of the defenders have a good matchup here. Everton for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Aston Villa for Cancelo. Notably, they're all away from home, so we might not see the clean sheets, but maybe one thing to note about December is that I'm expecting, as we saw previously, a lot of games coming up. That might mean that teams are a little bit less aggressive, they're a little bit more conservative in terms of managing the game themselves or their energy, so you might see a bit more cagey matches. So we actually might just see more points going to defenders. We're already seeing defenders get so many points, but I guess if you're maybe on the fence around do you really want to go big at the back, that might be something to think about. In that December, we might see more of these kind of cagey matches, so we might see more clean sheets. So maybe that's one thing you might want to think about that might sway you to actually going big at the back. But yeah, very happy with those 4 defenders there. And Ramsdale away to Manchester United. Obviously not the best fixture on paper. This could be the first fixture with the new interim manager. Obviously they had a good result against Chelsea with a 1-1, but it wasn't a very convincing display. Obviously Chelsea is one of the top 3 teams in the league, but Manchester United's only goal came from an error from Chelsea, so maybe there might be a clean sheet for Ramsdale, but at the very least, playing away from home, hopefully he faces a lot of shots and can get a lot of their save points. So obviously not looking to make any change there. And Ben Foster actually on the bench has picked up a groin injury. I'm recording before any kind of press conferences, so I don't quite know how long that's going to be, but he's home to Chelsea, so I would play Ramsdale in this situation anyway. In terms of the midfield and the attackers, so Rafinha, Salah and Jota, I'm very happy with Salah and Jota both away to Everton, because they haven't been the best defensively so far up until this point in the season. I am sticking with captaincy on Salah. I did kind of briefly think about putting it on Trent, but then I kind of saw that example of, say, like the Man City defenders. It can only take one instance where your clean sheet is wiped out by a wonder strike, and then all of a sudden, their ceiling is capped, whereas, the other team might score a goal, but that doesn't really affect Salah, and I have enough faith in Liverpool's attack that I think Salah still is going to have the captaincy. He's got penalties, and Everton, as I mentioned, have not been the best defensively, so I'm more than happy to still play Salah as captain. Rafinha at home to Crystal Palace. While Leeds haven't looked the best in attack, One thing I have noticed is that Crystal Palace do tend to concede a lot of goals from set pieces. It's been definitely a weakness of their defence so far this season. Rafinha is on the majority of Leeds set pieces. He takes a lot of free kicks. I don't know if he takes both side corners, but he definitely takes one of the side's corners. So potentially there could be some attacking returns on offer here for Rafinha via some set pieces. So definitely still keeping him. I mean, it's lucky that I do have Jota, because I do see a lot of people looking to do Rafinha to Jota, which I don't think is a bad move. And I think if you had the funds, I probably would advocate to do that move, because I just trust Liverpool attack more than Leeds. But I think if you have got the ability to hold on to Rafinha, I do think it's worthwhile, because he has got this fixture against Crystal Palace at home, and then he's got Brentford at home as well, which I think are two great matchups. We know that he's nailed on for 90 minutes if he's fit, which is obviously nice to see in a period where we're going to have a lot of fixtures coming up. So Rafinha, I'm happy to roll him out as well for Game Week 14. Front three, Antonio, Kane and Tony. Hopefully Kane and Spurs can actually play this game week, because Kane's got Brentford at home, which I think is a good fixture on paper. He'll have the vice captaincy. Hopefully they've got a little bit of an additional rest as well now, whereas all the other teams have had to obviously have a bit of a quicker turnaround. Let's see if that helps Spurs. I think we're seeing at this point in the season, Spurs do look a little bit unfit, to Conte standards. So hopefully another extra couple of days of rest, a little bit extra training can mean they're ready to go against Brentford, who haven't been the best at the back recently. Antonio and Tony, I'm not really happy with the pair of them overall. I mean, I kind of do regret keeping Antonio. Obviously, a lot of that is hindsight, but against Man City, he didn't have a single shot, so he registered 0 XG, and he's really dropped off a cliff in terms of his underlying numbers and his actual output FPL wise since his very hot start to the season. Brighton at home, I do think is a good fixture, so obviously I will play Antonio in this game week. And I think it might be a little bit too late for me to actually take out Antonio. Then Tony away to Tottenham. Again, I don't think it's the best fixture on paper, but the fact that we know that Tony's going to be nailed on for 90 minutes if he's fit and available on penalties, I think is enough of a justification to play him. And I'm happy enough with the bench of Mbeumo, Livramento and Brownhill all playing options, so they should be able to absorb any kind of squad rotation that I'm expecting, mainly from the defenders in terms of Cancelo and the Chelsea wingbacks. I don't even think Livramento is the worst play in your starting 11. Even though Leicester on paper looks like a tough matchup, I do feel like they've got a tendency to concede quite a few chances down their left-hand side, which would be the side that Livramento is playing on. And so at home as well, I don't think that playing Livramento is the worst option this game week. I could potentially even play him first sub instead of Mbeumo, but in this instance, I probably will favour the attacker. So that's why Mbeumo is going to be first sub. One free transfer. At the moment, I'm not looking to make any free transfers. The reason being is that I'm pretty happy with that starting 11. I think the weak links in the team are probably Antonio, Tony and Mbeumo. But with 0.3 million in the bank, I don't have that much flexibility in terms of upgrading Mbeumo. I think Antonio for me is probably still going to be a bit of a keep, as is Tony. So really Mbeumo is the main one that I'd like to move off on. But I do know Rafinha in a couple of weeks will have a really tough run coming up. And so I think he potentially will make way. I think being able to roll a free transfer, especially in this busy period. So then in game week 15, we can go into it with 2 free transfers, and then that means I've got a little bit more flexibility in terms of the moves that I want to make, and it might mean I could be able to downgrade somewhere in the team to upgrade Mbeumo. Most likely that the downgrade could be someone, maybe like an Antonio, or potentially if we get any kind of injuries. So for that reason, I'm looking to just roll the free transfers. It's a bit of a boring play this particular game week, but I don't really think we need to, force anyone out of the team at this point in time. But in terms of Mbeumo being my weak link, one kind of area I want to use in that particular position is to kind of go for a more differential kind of midfielder. I do think that's a good place to have a bit of a punt in your team, because I think everyone's backline is going to be very similar to that. I think most people are probably going to stick with at least one Spurs player, Salah and Jota. And so I think in that 4th midfield spot, Manchester City have a really great fixture on. I'm definitely eyeing up some of their attackers as a bit of a punt and a bit of a differential for the team moving forward. I can't afford it this week, which is again a reason why I'm looking to roll in this particular game week. So what I'll get into now is a bit of a comparison between Gundogan and Bernardo Silva, as they're 2 of the kind of midfield targets that I'm thinking of bringing in the next few game weeks. So just comparing Gundogan and Silva, obviously it goes without saying that if Phil Foden is past fit, he still could be an option, but given the kind of uncertainty with him and his injury, I've looked at doing this kind of analysis based on mainly Gundogan and Silva because they're both fit and playing to my knowledge. This is, again, as I mentioned, recorded pre-press conferences, but they are also about a £1 million saving on Foden. That £1 million could be very useful. It could allow you to upgrade, like an Mbeumo up to like a Gallagher, or it could even allow you to get up to like a Marcus Alonso or another big defender. So I do like the value that both Gundogan and Silva present. They're pretty similar in terms of their stats, in terms of the kind of FPL points they've scored per appearance. 5.3 for Gundogan, 4.9 for Silva. In terms of the actual returns though, I think in less minutes Gundogan has produced more. He's got the 3 goals and the 1 assist, but he's been out for quite a few games, whereas Silva has been an ever-present in the Man City lineup, scoring 4 goals and getting 2 assists as well. Underlying stats basis, Gundogan also outperforms. He's better on the XG and also better on the expected assists as well. Part of that is, if you look at Gundogan's heat map, he does take a lot of set pieces, so he's taken a lot of corners, whereas Silva is not on as many corners. So Gundogan's chance creation ability is just improved that little bit, the fact that he is on those corners. He's also on penalties when Mahrez is not in the starting lineup, and also when KDB is not on the starting lineup as well. So that's definitely one good thing in Gundogan's locker. He has got a few more avenues to points because he's got those penalties for now. He's got the corner kicks and some other set pieces. And just taking a look at the heat map, I think something that's common with both Silva and Gundogan is that they tend to make these kind of late runs into the box. I think we even saw this when Phil Foden was in the starting lineup, who's tended to be playing out wide. And we were seeing kind of those more central midfielders like Gundogan and Silva kind of get into the box in the last minute. As you can see with their heat map, they've got quite a few touches in the box, and I think that definitely helps with the Manchester City way of scoring. I feel like they've got a tendency to play it out wide, do a lot of cutbacks, and then they kind of get these more tap-in kind of goals, which is exactly what Gundogan actually scored against West Ham. So I really liked what I saw in that game against West Ham and in the game prior to that as well. And those next 6 fixtures for Man City, Aston Villa, Watford, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle and Leicester. I think those are really, really nice fixtures for Man City, and I think being able to tap into one of the best attacking teams with a nice run of fixtures. And I think part of the appeal of going with Silva and Gundogan is that they should hopefully be a little bit more nailed on than some of the other Man City options. I think Silva especially, because I don't really think anyone else in the team is really playing in his position, and I think he's played like the last 7 games the full 90 minutes. The downside of Gundogan is that because there's no Grealish or Foden or KDB, that is potentially one risk, which is why I'm not looking to bring them in this particular game week. And Aston Villa away, Aston Villa have looked pretty decent in the past couple of game weeks as well, under Steven Gerrard. So I'm happy to give this game week another watch, see how these guys perform, maybe if we get any more guidance on Phil Foden's injury, or any other injuries in general. And then I think from game week 15 or maybe even game week 16, I think that's really when I do want to target the Man City players. So definitely keeping these 2 in the back of my mind. I just wanted to add this little section in because I think these are probably 2 of my main transfer targets, because I think Mbeumo is probably the weakest link in my team. With the rest of it, I think I'm pretty happy with. And I think I can probably use Harry Kane money in around game week 16 to be able to fund a lot of that. Alright everyone, so that's my game week 14 team selection. I understand the video's probably gone a little bit longer for me just saying I'm not making any moves. I'm rolling the free transfer, but I thought it still might be interesting for you to hear my insights on why I'm keeping certain players, and also a couple of the transfer targets, particularly the Manchester City mids. But as always, leave any questions or comments below in the comment box, and give the video a like if you did enjoy it. It really helps me out in terms of pushing it out on the YouTube algorithm, and do subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy the content. But I'll see you all in the next video, and good luck for game week 14.